Everyone is deeply interested in the current situation regarding the conclusion and completion of the construction project. What more can I say about this matter? The official conclusion has not yet been received, but rest assured, we are diligently working on it. As they always say, there is no money, but you hang in there. But it's not like that. We were in a hurry. Well, how we were in a hurry. We made every effort to make this document and get it before the new year, because everyone understood perfectly well that after the new year, new rules and requirements would be introduced, well, as always happens. Well, and we were not mistaken. Therefore, what was done, Gostroj Nadzor checked, made comments, and one of the comments turned out to be very, I will not discuss the reasons, but it is significant because it concerned architecture, urban planning solutions, polygonal models, and we were obliged to review this model, although it is at an early stage. It is needed at the early stages when it has not yet been built, but nevertheless for delivery. And this work is connected with the development of a high polygonal model. It took a certain amount of time. After much deliberation and effort, it wasn't that easy to meet all the requirements. And after a thorough review process, we submitted it. Comments were made on it. We carefully considered all feedback. And in the course of eliminating the comments, we were forced to change the person performing the work. In the end, we left for the new year. After the new year, additional requirements came in. Now we are fulfilling new requirements. Is it good or bad? I would say good. Everything that does not kill us makes us stronger. And so, in the course of carrying out this extensive and detailed work, the first and foremost thing is that the entire comprehensive range of work that was meticulously carried out allowed us to further refine and enhance the documentation, ensuring accuracy and completeness, and refine all the subtle nuances and intricate details involved in the process. We are diligently working on bringing the documentation to a proper and comprehensive state to ensure we don't miss anything crucial, aligning everything meticulously with the specified requirements, and correcting all the comments thoroughly. Additionally, a few more issues related to the production area have unexpectedly come to light, which require our immediate attention and careful consideration. We could have either agreed or disagreed on these matters, but after much deliberation and thoughtful discussion, what did we ultimately decide to do? We agreed to have cadastral engineers conduct comprehensive measurements of the new area, including external parameters, external dimensions, technical and economic types, building indicators, and specifications, and internal areas, because we had some discrepancies, and we will bring this into line, because there are 2 expert assessments that do not provide clarity yet, so we have moved forward another 2 weeks. We could have avoided this if it weren't for the taxes. Do you understand why we are being so meticulous about this? Because any extra attributed areas, due to some design flaws or anything else, means a lifetime of tax payments for that area. So, it's better for us to spend another 2 weeks on this now. And yes, it will cost us a certain amount of money. It definitely costs money. But nevertheless, we will do it. As for the issues directly related to Mozgostroj Nadzor and the comments from Mozgor Architecture, all those comments are being thoroughly addressed with careful consideration. It's crucially important that we are now diligently working according to the newly established rules and regulations, ensuring compliance and efficiency. All the necessary changes and adjustments are being meticulously implemented to meet the updated standards and expectations. Yes, indeed, it's a truly immense and colossal amount of work, and challenging, like a snowball, where one thing gradually leads to another. but we are consistently and steadily gaining competence. I'll say right away that no one among our staff, including myself, had this level of competence regarding the handover of projects before. Therefore, if we talk about the further development of the project, which is crucial for our success, and what we have outlined in our plans, all the accumulated experience will not be lost. It will be used effectively and efficiently in the future. In any case, we will already know this particular path, considering modern requirements and expectations. And we shouldn't think or assume that these problems have only arisen for us. They have come up for everyone, everywhere. Everyone who has handed over similar projects in the past has faced these issues and challenges. We need to understand that no one is holding our hand and guiding us through the offices in the process. We navigate ourselves. Yes, we reach out, consult, but we act step by step, carefully and responsibly, as decent, law-abiding citizens of the Russian Federation, as we should, in our journey through this complex and intricate system, in full compliance with the law. And we are not asking anyone for anything beyond what they absolutely require. We are clearly and completely addressing all these comments and eliminating the directives that are issued to us. So I ask all project members of the project team for a little bit of patience. The issue is currently in the ongoing process of being resolved. If we talk about the state and perception of the conclusion of construction at the end of the year and now, they are quite different indeed at this moment. Absolutely, both the relationships among employees and the perception and understanding of problem solving are completely different now. In recent times, the dynamics and interactions within the workplace have evolved significantly. We now possess a clear understanding of the necessary steps, the methods to implement them, and are actively engaged in the process. The videos provided a comprehensive view of the entire process of the transport platform's journey from China, which included the careful unloading of a highly specialized and advanced stamping machine designed specifically for processing electrical steel. The team is pleased to announce that the stage involving the safe and successful delivery of this sophisticated equipment has been fully completed. The stage lasted almost a year because by the end of 2023, almost everything was indeed resolved. Then in 2024, difficulties with payments and all sorts of other issues began. It was really tough. The equipment was supposed to arrive before the new year, and expected, due to the fact that unfortunately, the train was coming. Well, as you know, it was a 6-axle vehicle, and it just recently made its way through. It was literally skidding. You saw the condition it arrived in a very poor condition. Yes, we'll have to clean everything up now. We'll manage, we'll get it done. But what's important is that it's here. And what does that mean? I already wrote in chat number 1. There are a number of critical technologies for the serial production of products. In particular, we're specifically talking about various types of angle grinders and aircraft engines and other related equipment, because the universal equipment that we already have in place is successfully and efficiently working in our advanced facilities. It allows us to produce prototype engines, refine technologies, work on the design, and measure electrical parameters. But the cost of this process, the production cost, is very serious because if we're machining a propeller hub part on a CNC machine, it takes more than 1 hour to finish the whole set. The financial implications of this process are significant. For example, when machining a propeller hub part on a CNC machine, it takes more than 1 hour to complete the entire set. If you calculate the cost of machine hours and labor, it costs approximately as much as an airplane wing. If you do it on a pressure die casting machine using aluminum, well, that's significantly many times faster, especially in terms of speed and efficiency, considering the fact that in comparison to traditional methods. If we take into account the wages of the components, the labor costs involved, and all other associated expenses, then we can confidently assert that the overall cost of the hub part is determined by taking the cost of the raw material and multiplying it by a factor of 3, which is then further multiplied by the total mass of the workpiece. 2 or 3 are pennies, insignificant, and the price of the product is completely different. Therefore, such technology allows you to earn money. So, talking about serial production of products without having equipment like a thermoplastic injection molding machine or stamping equipment is completely pointless in any meaningful way. Yes, you can produce something, but who would need it at all at extremely high astronomical prices? At the very beginning, when the project started, we talked about development and then selling to the customer. But today, the main components for the serial production of angle grinders, aircraft engines, and so on are already on the site. We're in the process of installation, commissioning, and training successfully. And there's one more component: tooling. And when you thoroughly analyze the situation with the tooling, you must fully and clearly understand that you will indeed sell this product, because the cost of the tooling for making such parts in such a cheap way is high, comparable to the cost of the equipment, in a very detailed manner, ensuring every aspect is considered. And you can only order it if you are absolutely confident that the product will indeed sell. Because spending $5 million, $3 to $5 million, for a mold to produce an engine hub with a 60-day manufacturing time in China, that's a lot of money. It's definitely cheaper there. But you need to understand that you will be selling these engines. Do we understand this? Is there a demand for it? Believe me, there indeed is. Before we get into expenses, we naturally analyze the market. In what way? In a variety of all available ways, in any possible way. We're even extremely interested in extensive market research. Yes, we gather data, and the data we have shows that quadcopters are currently in demand. But this niche is empty. There are practically no offers. Recently, you have seen, we have already demonstrated, our specialists have made the baseboards of the controller, made the elements of the controller. Now in the video they showed the work of a lathe with a bar feeder. This is an automatic line where electrodes, controller output electrodes, are now manufactured. If you calculate, it is indeed also inexpensive. Although, when the shaft upsetting machine arrives, of course, it can be used for electrodes. It will be cheaper there. But in this case, a calibrated rod and minimal machining are used. The cost price of these electrodes is very tasty and acceptable. And so, behind each step, behind each detail, before buying equipment or doing something, some movements, there is a calculation of the economy. And now, together with the manufacturers, we are developing special programs that take into account all cost elements: depreciation, electricity, building maintenance, and other factors, and so on. Everything is inputted there. The machine hour rate is calculated along with equipment costs, salaries, and so forth, forming the total production cost. Technological maps are also being created for everything, because the engines at Motelyok are currently involved. And practically all employees are currently working to synchronize all the tasks that have been completed, consolidating all the materials, and bringing together all these costs to form the total development cost. The development of the angle grinder is separate, the aircraft engine is separate, and the controller is separate. And we are already forming the cost part that we have already incurred for creating this development. We are already beginning to understand how much all this cost. Why is this being done? It is being done because any development has a price. If we sell it, that is one option. The second option is if we put it into production for ourselves. If we do it for ourselves, then the development gets amortized. And accordingly, through the amortization of this development, we reduce the taxable base for calculating profit tax, which is very beneficial for investors. But the point is that we need to make a profit. Yes, we still have a lot to do with our drones, especially the super heavy ones, including their legalization and certification. But that will be a different job, because they will be of different classes, intended for agriculture, for transport companies, for minorities, and each will have its own design features. The main thing is the drive, and the drive. And you've even seen how the first motel yoke was and what is being done now. In the chat we shared that it has been amortized. Why? We pushed everything to the limit. We really tested it hard. We even bent the wings and the blades flew off. It was a tough, very tough job dealing with all of this. Based on this experience, after careful consideration, we came to the conclusion that unfortunately, we are unable to effectively make them using the same schemes as standard ones. Because Baba Yaga has a 30 kilogram payload capacity, and that's just not appropriate for this device at all, for the intended purpose. For this, completely different requirements and approaches are needed. You can't just put wheels on it like on the Mi-8 or Ka-52, because different approaches are necessary here. These approaches are being developed and formed. Even the fact that we have completely moved the drive, including the battery, to the consoles is a result of testing. Because when we moved everything to the periphery, we didn't need to create such a rigid frame. The frame is mainly needed for the payload. If we talk about impact loads, when it lands like this, that's also been addressed. It's amortized right under it. This is the concept. Yes, there is something to do, because we made frames of different designs there. Tried, looked. Yes, it is clear that we need to do it a little differently. Yes, I understand, but it will be done. All of this has been taken into account. Right now, we've positioned it correctly in the middle because it's convenient for us to place the load there without suspending it from below. This is for testing. Moving forward, everything will be straightforward. You can already see in the photos where the suspensions will be, where different loads can be placed in various configurations. All of this is currently in progress. But the most important thing, colleagues, is the serial production of electric machines, the serial production of controllers, and flight operations, not to mention angle grinders and everything like that. As soon as the formation of the section for the production of drives and angle grinders is completed, the question will arise further: expanded production. Because one or two machines, one thermoplastic, one casting machine, this is not serial production. This is small scale. We will need to create a sub-market for production. But it will be much easier to create it now because, first, we already know what equipment we need. We know the prices. We know where to get it from. Logistics have been established. And with the right funding, we can order this equipment in the necessary configuration for the required volume. Secondly, with these guidelines that will be created, the company Sovelmash can become a founding member of a new company, Spetselmash, in the interests of all investors. And then it turns out that the investors from the first stage and the last will benefit. Why not? Why not? And this multiplies everything. Is it real? Yes, it is. It's already becoming a reality, guys. So we need to fulfill all the commitments for this project and get it up and running. We have already successfully established and are continuing to establish the basic conditions for expanding the new production and will continue to do so.
What will the company ultimately be doing? Developing projects worth approximately $50 million or engines for drones? Before, you only talked about projects. But now there's no mention of that at this point in time.
You are wrong because I just explained today how the project cost is formed. At the very beginning, I talked about how we formed the project cost, the production cost, the price at which we are ready to sell, and how we will negotiate. And remember, I mentioned what a project means. It's not just papers and drawings. It's a line capable of producing a product. We sell the client a button. They press it, and the product comes out. What does the button mean? It means development, technology, equipment, training. All of this together is the technology that gets sold. Haven't we completed the development? We did, are we just about ready to sell it?
Easy, but later.
Later, because the person needs to show it. I press the button, he got it. It costs so much, you sell it for the price you want.
I'm interested in whether there's demand specifically for development, for setting up production and creating factories for clients, or if the interest is only in acquiring finished products.
So, colleagues, I have already said, until there is a button, there is nothing to talk about. There are requests. And believe me, there are requests from large investors who say, Dmitry Alexeyevich, when? I say, when? A small factory, yes. When? And what? And we are ready. I say, colleagues, you understand, here is the system that we created, yes, all together with you, which, due to the large number of investors, ensures the stability of the project. It was created. It works. But let's get this all sorted out so that we have some specific basic project that will certainly ensure the stability of this business. And then we'll undoubtedly move on, because if you chase two hares now, it won't do any good, without a doubt. Let's do this. As agreed, we launch all production. We form fixed assets. Before that, ZOS, a conclusion on the completion of construction, a permit for water supply into operation. Then we transfer the status of an unfinished construction project to a completed construction project. We buy the land, make a commercial assessment, introduce all these tangible and intangible assets into the main fund, reorganize into a joint stock company, launch the full program, work as we envisaged in the project. We take and continue to take the next steps, because after this we will have to make a transfer of shares for stocks. We will do all this and move on, but when we get there, it will be clear that the main provisions have been made, and if this is without prejudice to the main Sovelmash, we will move on, because I already said that I am working on the documents. It's not just the charter, it's also the business plan and the economics. All of these elements, and the overall strategy is being calculated. But the economics should now be built on actual data, not on the assumptions we had when we started this project. Because let's say I can already calculate production based on the figures that we have in the accounting department, and for equipment and for everything, taking into account inflation, taking into account costs, but also taking into account price reductions. Why? Because when we place an order for a machine, say, a casting machine, we've calculated how many 24 nanomachines we need for serious production, how many thermoplastic machines we need, and we are ordering based on those volumes, which means we get a discount. So each machine will be cheaper, and logistics and transportation will also be cheaper for us. But that will be a factory indeed capable of meeting such demand, which will be significant because producing 100, 200, or 300 quadcopters is not an issue. And I have a question. Right now, there are many quadcopters being showcased. And in a strategic sense, I imagine there are 1 million quadcopters stored, printed on 3D printers, laser cut from fiberglass, with lithium batteries. When will that warehouse burn down? Well, they won't be charging there, but the batteries will die. If we're talking about strategic defense for various issues. And what's their storage period? Yes, they're suitable for the special military operation. They're flying off the shelves like hotcakes. Throw it in, it burns. No, it gets shot down. No, it gets lost. No, it breaks. They are suitable for various situations. But what will it look like in the long run, over several years or decades? Please explain it to me in detail. I don't see it, for example, in practical scenarios.
Is also interested in which product will be the first to be put into production. There is a competition going on now.
The controller, the motor for the angle grinder, as the equipment is delivered. Right now, I'm eagerly waiting for one piece of equipment to arrive. Why? Because I'll quickly connect it. Guys, not me, they'll connect it. I'll put on an apron and start pouring the rotor. But before that, I'll be making soup. Well, that's just a figure of speech. What is soup? It's molten material. Because what we receive in ingots is molten. For example, we currently have A5 in molten form. Well, they melted it in a pig. There are oxides, there are gases. I will clean it, bring it to the right state so that I can pour it into the squirrel. But I won't pour it. I'm not a good person. Why? Because we bought special equipment to check the chemical composition of the materials that come in, to determine the grade of steel, the grade of copper, and the grade of aluminum. So samples will be cast and tested. Again, we pour. Before that, everything was done randomly because, how materials are supplied. So besides the product, we are also paying a lot of attention to incoming controls such as. Plus, we are now forming a section of the technical control department. That's it, with all the measurement gauges, plugs, completely, profilometers, and everything that allows control. Even with such a technological process, you saw they made electrodes. Well, they made electrodes, that's good. But can they be mounted in the controller? No, they can't, because after processing, they are in emulsion. What do? Shavings, all the residues, tumbling. After that, the parts go for tumbling, then washing in solvents, and then washing in deionized water. After that, drying, and then the parts.
This is already a specific toy, little.
The thing is, the parts are not processed by hand, not at all. Every step is automated, and not only that, but the oxide film must be removed to install these electrodes. So, for certain specific applications, these electrodes will be coated with a nickel coating, and that will be the final product. And when you receive such a product, you might be wondering where it was made. And it will say Sovelmash right over there, exactly